Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Future Focused Learning podcast, where we explore the intersection of technology and education. Each episode, we strive to answer the big question: how do we prepare students for the future? I'm your host, Kyla Bolden. I am also the founder and CEO of Wiz Kid Learning. And in case you're not familiar with us, Wiz Kid Learning is a company that I started 8 years ago, and our company is dedicated to making sure all students, no matter where they are from, are adequately prepared to succeed in the future. And we do this by teaching online coding, STEM, digital literacy courses for kids K through 12, as well as young adults. So we offer courses in artificial intelligence, game design, coding, and then we also offer a lot of awesome workforce development courses like cybersecurity, and web design, and the list goes on and on. And at WizKit, that's the question that we're focused on answering. How do we successfully prepare students for the future? And so, in these podcasts, we're going to be talking to individuals who are in the education space and the youth development space, from school leaders to school district leaders to individuals in the nonprofit space to also individuals who have had successful careers, and talking to them about their thoughts on how we should be thinking about successfully preparing our students to succeed in the future. So today I'm joined by Principal Baxter and Miss James, who's the Dean of Students for Adelfiha Christian Academy. Now, Adelphia is a school that we have worked with from the very beginning of Wiz Kid Learning, and we have loved working with their students across the years. So this is a very interesting and insightful discussion with two incredible leaders in education, talking about how at the Adelphia Christian Academy, that's actually located in Toronto, how they are successfully preparing their students to succeed, what things that they think is important to instill in children from a young age, and overall just talking a little bit more about their approach at Adelphia when it comes to education and future focused learning. So I really enjoyed speaking with them. I loved this podcast, listening to it back, and I hope you guys enjoy it too. So thank you guys so much for joining me on the podcast. I really appreciate it. So guys, Adelphia was actually the first school that WizKid Learning ever did programs at. So it's such an honor to have Principal Baxter and Miss James, who is Dean of Students, join us on the podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having
It's,
us.
it's
Thank you.
great to be here with you.
Thank you. So first, starting off, I want to learn a little bit more about how you guys got into the education space. Did you guys always want to go into education, or is this something that you decided a bit later? Tell me a little bit more about that.
I've always loved education, but that isn't the field that I was originally going into. I actually went to school and started my university doing pre-med. And it was while we were in one of our classes, we had to teach on science, and I loved teaching. I fell in love with teaching even more than the hands-on work. So that's when I changed my direction and went into education. And I'm so happy that I did.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. And then what about you, Miss James?
So again, very not similar, but education was not part of the plan.
Mhm.
But I knew that ministry was. My heart was always in empowering and leading people on a particular path. And so I was working at the school, just in administrative spaces, and then I was teaching grade 1 and 2, but just kind of really helping and assisting the main teacher. And then again, I fell in love with it, fell in love with the students, fell in love with being a part of molding their young minds, and having a passion for education. So growing up, why I didn't want to be in education is because I didn't enjoy being educated. But I also think it was because of the instructors, the teachers. And so now you're in a space where you can actually cultivate and be a part of another child enjoying education. And that's what I fell in love with.
Wow, that's so incredible. And I think the more I talk to educators, and even for myself, I realized that education for a lot of us is something that we kind of fell into based on our passions and our goals and who we wanted to impact. I know for myself, I did not plan to go into education. I planned to go into consulting after I graduated university. But in school, I always had tutored people. I always was helping students in English and other subjects. And then I started a club that helped get people jobs, and minorities and women actually jobs in corporate America. And then we saw that coding and tech was something that they needed. So then I ended up going into this really based on, a mission that I had to make sure that the tech world is more diverse. And what you said about not actually enjoying being educated, I think that's something that we all have experienced. I always tell our instructors that you could really make a difference in a child's life completely. It only takes
Yes.
one teacher to believe in you, to change the course of your life. And then, so what are some ways that you guys at Adelphia help students actually enjoy being educated? Because I think I love that you guys said that, because I think that's not something that a lot of schools or educators sometimes think about. Like, how do we make them enjoy actually being educated?
Hmm.
I think a big part of it for me is always going from the known to the unknown. And I think sometimes the struggle with loving education is because you're intimidated, you don't know, and you're learning something new. But when you can bridge the gap from starting from something that you know already and then bring it to something that you didn't know, then there is that confidence that you have to continue your journey in education. So I think that's a big part of it, to make you happy and excited about learning.
Yeah,
Wow, I
absolutely.
just I just fell in love with that. Bridging the gap between the known and the unknown.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
I love
Brilliant.
that. I love that. And I think one of the key missions that you have is creating lifelong learners, right? And that's something that we're really passionate at with Kid. I think many people stop learning after they go to university, sometimes after they go to high school, which is crazy to me. I think, you're not living unless you're learning. You have to keep
yeah.
on learning. And I think it's easier when you cultivate that love for learning at a young age, that curiosity. And so, what are some ways that you try to cultivate that lifelong learning, a student at Adelphia?
Um, I guess it's again to what Mrs. Baxter was saying, they have a love for it,
Hmm.
right? So you create songs, you use illustration because again, our students are between 18 months to grade 6, right? So they still have a passion for illustration and for drawings, along with the educational tools that the teachers give them. Um, there is a sense of pride that we take as educators in having the children know that we're proud of them, so then they strive to make us proud as well. So even just putting your hand on the shoulder and saying, we're so proud of you, Billy, we're so proud of you, Sarah, that was excellent, then they're going to
Yeah,
try even harder to get that
yeah,
affirmation.
yeah.
Mhm.
That's right. There's that positive reinforcement that goes a long way. But also, as Miss James was talking about, the illustrations and bringing to life what you're learning,
Mhm.
uh, that we don't do that just at the toddler age, but you would find right through to grade 6, you have to
Hmm.
keep students engaged. And it's through, different aspects of learning. It's not just sitting down at the desk and writing, but how else can you be creative to
Right.
bring across whatever you're trying to teach?
Absolutely. And I love you guys focus on creativity, because sometimes we think that creativity is only something that could be done in art class or classes like that. But it's really something that needs to be bridged and like woven throughout every single
Math
subject.
and sciences and everything,
Absolutely,
absolutely.
absolutely, absolutely.
History
Absolutely.
and yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so one of the things I do know about Adelphia is that you guys are a Christian school, right? So you have like specific values that you instill in the children. And I think something that you guys were just talking about is affirmations, like speaking like life into students, telling them that you're proud of them, which is a very Christian value. So could you tell
Yeah.
me a little bit more about your mission as a school, and just like elaborate on that a little bit more?
Well, the mission and the focus, the motto at Adelphia is to educate the whole child,
Mhm.
spirit, mind, and body, because you cannot be whole if you only look at the academics. You can't be whole if you only look at the physical side. It really encompasses everything. And so that is the motto of Adelphia. It comes from, actually goes right back to the name of our school. As I mentioned, our founder is Mrs. Rosenda Adelphia James. And the name Adelphia means a monument of God's love. And so we try to instill that in our children. This is a place where God's love can be felt and shared. And because of that foundation, we can develop every aspect of your life, which is the spiritual and the academic and the body, the
Yeah,
physical
Absolutely.
yeah.
side.
And it's such a loving environment, to go along with what Mrs. Baxter was saying, that fosters healthy learning.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And then we also believe that everything first starts in God. So
Yeah,
math, sciences,
yeah,
it all goes back to his creative genius, right? And so we're able
absolutely.
to, in every subject, bring that in.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
that goes too with the curriculum that we use, as Miss James was saying there. We use the Abeka curriculum here, and then it's a Bible-based curriculum. So
Mhm.
when we look at history, it's His story, God's
Mhm.
story of the world. That's why we learn about it. What has God, done over time? And there's order in math because we serve a God of order,
Mhm.
and that's why there has to be order in the numbers that we teach. So it goes through
Absolutely.
everything. Yeah.
I absolutely love that. And I think also, like, coming from your mission, you guys created a very tight-knit school. And I've been at Adelphia many times, and it feels like a family, right? You have luxury of like small class sizes, which, allow the teachers to really give students that one-on-one help.
Yeah.
And the teachers actually know the students throughout the years as well, too. So what are some of the ways that you've been able to create such a sustainable, tight-knit community throughout the years when it comes to Adelphia students and teachers?
Mm.
Wow.
I'll,
That's a
I'll,
good
I'll
one.
jump, yeah, I'll jump in
Yeah,
there
go
really
ahead.
quick because I know Mrs. Baxter will definitely have stuff to add to it.
Hmm.
But you know what has been wonderful? It is just that. It is just creating that environment so that anybody that walks in feels that presence, but
Mhm.
also building a relationship, with the parents,
Hmm.
right? So we believe that education and fostering the whole person or the whole child, like as part of our motto, it can't just be from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.,
Hmm.
Mhm.
right? It's a continuum, right? So we want that what we teach at the school is also being taught at home. Some of the parents have come back and said, oh my goodness, our children are teaching us, right? Simple things about how we simplify math so that they can grasp it, also helping the parents. Simple things like praying before they eat the meal,
Hmm.
right? That they've brought that home now to their parents. And so
Mhm.
it is the law of reciprocity, it's continuing. And so as we're educating them, they're educating us.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. And I would agree on that we do thrive in saying that we are an extension of, we do say an extension of the Christian home, but we're really an extension of any home.
Hmm.
Because once a parent has decided, yes, I want to invest in private education, they are saying, I'm going to take some of my resources to ensure that my child
That's
has
right.
a safe environment. And so we continue to be that safe environment. Yes, we have the godly principles that we established, but it's a safe environment, it's a loving environment. And that's what your home is for your child. It's a
Hmm.
safe space, it's a loving space. And so we continue that when you have your child at our school to ensure that we're an extension of your home.
Absolutely. I
Mhm.
love that. And then, so taking a slight turn to a little bit more about what we focus on in this podcast, which is future focused learning. And the big question, how are we preparing students for the future? Now, this question, I feel like it's a really interesting one because the world is changing so fast. We've all been through so many changes in this last 5 years, and especially with technology changing, how the workforce is changing. It's a lot to think about. Like, okay, how is this 4-year-old that I'm teaching when they become 24? What is the world going to look like? And some things we could prepare for, like we could look at, how tech is changing and okay, these might be the jobs that they'll be going in. And then other things we just will have no idea. So, what are some ways that you're preparing students for the future? And this could be like a technological way, or it could even be like skills like critical thinking, like those types of thinking skills as well too. But thinking about the fact that they're going to be going into a world that's very different from the world that we live today. How are you preparing them for that?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Well, I want to start there. I think a big part of how we are ensuring that the children, especially in the technological light, is
Hmm.
to be a part of Wiz Kid coding. For almost 10 years now, we have
Yes.
ensured that that's something we've continued to have in our
Hmm.
school because we saw 10 years ago how it was changing. And it's
Mm-hmm.
even changing more now. So as Wiz Kid continues to develop and grow,
Mm-hmm.
then we continue to partner with you and bring our children into that world of technology.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, thanks for even mentioning that. And like I said, we've been working with you guys for a while. And one of the coolest things about working with Adelphi is that we've been able to see students grow throughout the years and their tech skills get better. And then also working with a school that has that like backbone of those trying to develop the whole child. So that's like their morals, their ethics, their values, all of that type of things. Those things really translate into preparing students for a tech center world as well too.
Yeah.
I think oftentimes we forget about things like digital citizenship and literacy, like all of those things. And that's
Yeah.
one of the reasons why we try to educate them young, but then also having that additional education and teachers that are developing the whole child helps a lot as well too.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
We want them to be a part of the change that they want to see.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And that's a great way to be able to do that through technology, learning how to create technology, understanding technology really helps them be able to change the world rather than the world just changing them. Because
That's
we know how easy it is to get lost scrolling on your phone, even as
Yeah.
adults, and we have more self-control than the 12-year-olds, right?
You're right.
So it's super important that we teach them not to just be consumers, but innovators, people that could take technology
right.
and use it for good.
That's
Um,
right.
and then the last question that I have for you guys is, and it's also along the lines of like future focused learning. So if you could choose one skill that you believe is essential for a student to develop to be successful in the future,
Mhm.
and this doesn't really have to be a tech skill. It could be one of those soft skills that we've been talking about. What would that be? What is that essential skill that you think as an educator, it's super important to cultivate in students to give them the best chance of success?
Yeah. For me, it's an awareness of self,
Hmm.
right? Just letting them know that their
Mhm.
opinions, their values, their thoughts are needed, right? That
Mhm.
they're even at their tender age of, I think we go up to like 12, 13 here, that it's needed and it fosters the world that it's around them.
Hmm.
Mhm.
That their words create their world. And so if you have an awareness of self, you'll be able to speak to things and
Mhm.
establish that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Absolutely. Your
Yeah.
words
And
create your world. I love that. And that's
yeah.
a very biblical principle as well too, but you hear it, the things that you think, the things that you speak, they become a reality.
Yeah.
And I think it's so incredible that you guys are fostering that from such a young age because there's many
Right.
adults that don't know that, right?
That's right.
But now that you're fostering it from a young age, it becomes just like a pure fact for them and they
Hmm.
realize that throughout life, which is super important.
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 I
Mrs.
would
Baxter.
agree that we would also, as a faith-based school, to tie in the scripture, that the Bible says, I can do all things through Christ
Mhm.
who strengthens me. So they don't walk this world alone. Yes, you have your awareness of self, but it's yourself in Christ. And
Mhm.
so, because you are not doing this alone, because you have the strength of the Lord, there is nothing that you can't do,
Mhm.
and the sky is the limit because there is no limitations on God.
Absolutely. Well, that was incredible. That's an incredible point to end on. I really love the chance getting to talk with you guys. Like I said, Adelphia, you guys are doing amazing things. And I've had the privilege of being able to see many of your students go from teeny weeny kids. So I think some of them
Yeah.
from when we started are
Yeah.
now out of Adelphia, right? Yeah.
Hmm.
They are. Just
They
last
are.
week, we had a student who came, and they come by all the time when they're
Hmm.
grown. They like to see their pictures on the wall. And we had a student who came by. She found her grade 1 and grade 2 photo on the
Picture. Yeah.
wall. Yeah,
Oh
she
my.
is now a psychotherapist. She just opened her own
Ooh,
practice, and she came
wow.
back to thank, Mrs. McKenzie, one of our teachers here, who helped her, at a difficult time in her education. So we're so
Oh
proud
my.
So
to be in
Yeah.
proud.
this field and to see where our students are going in this world.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate you guys coming on the podcast. Adelphia is such an incredible school, and I'm excited to continue to work with you guys.
Awesome. And
Thank you. Thank you so
congratulations to
much
all
for
that you're
having us.
doing in Wiz Kid Coding.
So, thank you guys so much for listening to that episode. I really love talking with Principal Baxter and Miss James. As I said before, we've been working with Adelphia for over 8 years, and in a lot of ways, Adelphia is one of the core reasons why Wiz Kid Learning was able to receive like validation from the beginning. They are absolutely our first B2B client that we ever had, and we had such an amazing time working with them throughout the years. And so it was really great getting to hear a little bit more about their thoughts on future focused education and how we can prepare students for the future. So, thank you guys so much for listening. I really enjoyed speaking with our guest. And please make sure you go and subscribe on anywhere you can get your podcast. So, that is Apple Podcast, Spotify. There is also a video version of this podcast on YouTube if you haven't seen it already. So, definitely go there. Please subscribe. And we are going to be talking to so many incredible people across the education space. And I really feel if you are in education or if you're a parent or someone who's just interested in how to make sure that they are getting the proper education to be successful in their future careers, this is a great episode and great podcast for you to listen to. So thank you guys so much for listening, and I look forward to speaking with you guys next time.